What's messier than my room after getting ready in the morning? Nothing. Except celebrity custody battles. I'm sure you have seen it through the media over the years, and if you thought divorces were messy enough, it becomes even messier when the two parents want different things for their children. Hello everyone, I'm Melanie with InformOverload as we count down our top 10 messiest celebrity custody battles part 2. In our number 10 spot, we have Catwoman herself, and that of course is Halle Berry. Not to be confused with Halle Bailey, who played Ariel in the live action of The Little Mermaid. I know, it's confusing. Halle Berry started dating Gabriel Aubry in 2005, but split just 5 years later. Their breakup was hard as they both were very involved in raising their daughter Nala, and neither of them wanted that taken away from them. They were in a decade-long custody battle, and the court documents revealed all the previously sealed information surrounding the stars' relationship. The documents that dated back in 2011 revealed Berry's allegations against Aubry, as she claims he was discriminatory, emotionally harmful, and even gave insights on their physical chemistry. Not only did Aubry allegedly use racial phrases during their time together, but also refused to acknowledge that Nala was biracial. Berry stated, "Gabriel refused to either recognize or accept responsibility for these issues. Instead, he criticized my body in ways which are very demeaning to women. I finally convinced him to go to a joint therapist to address these issues." Berry also claims Gabriel has had a history of mental health problems but refused to seek professional help, which made him an unfit parent to their daughter. Aubry's lawyer requested that many of Halle's claims were irrelevant or misstating facts. And for number 9, we have Jent Jackson. The sister of Michael Jackson has proved she has her own amazing talents with those vocals I couldn't even reach with a ladder. For mothers, the first few months after delivering your baby is special as they seem to grow too fast. Unfortunately, the months following the birth of her son, Issa El-Mana, she was left with a messy custody battle with her ex-husband, Wissam El-Mana. The two had a secret and intimate wedding in 2012, and Janet actually had to announce she would no longer be performing on her Unbreakable tour because the two were planning on starting a family together. And in January of 2017, Janet had their son as they began to raise him away from the spotlight. However, the following months, they would reveal their decision to split because they were no longer seeing eye to eye. Many speculate the religious differences between the two drove them further apart, as well as the different approaches they had in mind when it came to raising their son. Randy Jackson spoke about his sister's time being married, as he claims her husband was harming her verbally as she felt like a prisoner in their own home. The original plan for the two was to have shared custody over their child, but after things continued to get heated, Janet wanted full custody, which further added heat to this whole situation. Allegedly, Janet would be so fearful anytime her son was left with his father, which actually prompted her to call the cops on him once, but nothing was wrong, so no report was taken. And for number 8, we have Robin Thicke and Paula Patton. This blurred line singer had to set clear lines when it came to his custody battles for his son. The two first met as teenagers in 2005, and after 21 years together and almost 9 years of marriage, Patton filed for divorce from Thicke in 2014 as she alleged infidelity, physically harm, and substance use, but Thicke has denied these claims at the time. The two would be constantly at war with one another as they were both accused of violating agreements and or restraining orders. Paula accused Thicke for trying to get her arrested in front of their son, as well as trying to gain favor of a DCFS monitor with an expensive sushi date. The judge actually granted a restraining order against Robin after there were claims he had harmed their child, which he denies, and instead insisted on just spanking him. After the years-long custody battle, the two have actually worked on the relationship as they claim they are in the best spot they've been in years. After Thicke had a heart attack in late 2016, he called this a wake-up call but still struggled to get his life back on track. In 2017, the two worked out a custody agreement for their son Julian, as he claims their communication and transparency has allowed the two to work together through their differences for their son. Thicke stated, "We're co-parenting at our very best, and it shows in Julian's results. He's thriving and has really blossomed this year. He's so devoted to school. He's the opposite of me. I was a class clown in the back row. He's in the front row of the class and loves going to school." I'm glad the two are able to prove no matter how messy the custody battle was, they were able to work things through, and despite all the things they have done to each other in the past. In our 7th spot, we have Charlie Sheen and Brooke Mueller. These two actors first met in 2006 after their mutual friend Rebecca Gayheart introduced them to each other. They were married 2 years later in 2008, and while they were married, the two welcomed a set of twin boys in March of 2009, but just a few months later, Sheen was arrested due to suspicion of domestic harm, and the two filed for divorce in 2010. And if you think the relationship between the two is crazy enough, just hang on tight, because in 2011, police had to remove the children from Sheen's home after Mueller obtained a restraining order against him. The divorce settlement was for Sheen to pay Brooke $750,000 for their prenuptial agreement, and on top of that, $55,000 per month in child support for their two sons. However, Mueller, despite completing rehab programs, was suspected for ongoing substance use, which caused the Department of Children and Family Services to remove her then 4-year-old children out of her care, as it was suspected the ongoing use of substances made the home unsuitable for the children. Through the ups and downs between the two, in 2022, Sheen's attorney told Us Weekly, quote, "Mr. Sheen and Miss Mueller recognized together the great benefit to their children and peacefully, privately coming to terms focused on the family. Overall best interests, they should be applauded for making that happen." And for number 6, we have Michael Jackson and Debbie Rowe. This singer has received a ton of nicknames over the years, but his most famous one was the King of Pop. Well, the King of Pop actually met Debbie Rowe back in 1986 as Rowe was working as an assistant for Jackson's dermatologist doctor at the time. Jackson was just recently diagnosed with lupus and vitiligo, which Rowe helped treat his multiple different skin conditions. The two ended up bonding and soon became good friends, as the singer would apparently send autographed merchandise to her, which she then hung all over the walls of her office. Rowe would tell her friends how if other people knew Michael the way she did, they wouldn't think he was strange, but rather just unique. I mean, I've been called unique too, and honestly I take it as a compliment. As time went by, their friendship grew as they often connected by talking about their bad luck with love and unhappy marriages, as Jackson was married to Lisa Marie Presley, who he kept his friendship with Rowe a secret from. Presley eventually found out, but didn't view Rowe as a threat, as she believed Jackson wasn't physically attracted to her because of her more natural appearance. But tension grew between Jackson and Presley, as she didn't want to have his child in order to avoid a custody battle, and he expressed this to Rowe, who then offered to carry his child for him, and this obviously caused even more issues as Presley grew increasingly more aware of the situation, as she claims Rowe had a crush on him and knew this while they were together. Well, after Jackson and Presley split, Rowe was pregnant with his child. Jackson's mother found out about the pregnancy and urged her son to marry Rowe, as she had strong religious beliefs. Apparently, Rowe wasn't a big part of the child's life, but still welcomed their second child together. But this time when the news broke out, it was also known that Jackson and Presley rekindled their relationship. Eventually, Rowe grew increasingly unsatisfied with their marriage, which she then asked for divorce and even gave Jackson full custody. For our number 5 spot, we have Alec Baldwin and Kim Basinger. The two got divorced after a long 9 years of marriage, as the two first met on the set of The Marrying Man, and in 1993 they got married and welcomed their daughter named Ireland. The two had a messy battle, but eventually agreed on giving joint custody in 2002 after years of going back and forth, which cost them around $3 million in legal costs. The divorce was actually made very public because an angry voicemail that Alec left for Ireland circulated, which caused her father to temporarily lose visitation rights. They didn't see eye to eye for a while, but despite all the challenges, Ireland has developed a close bond towards both her parents, as she also welcomed her first baby this year. And for number 4, we have Usher and Tamika Foster. Foster was actually Usher's personal stylist, as they began seeing each other in 2005 and were engaged by 2007 and got married that same year. Together they welcomed 2 sons to the world, but ended up getting divorced by 2009, just 2 years after the couple initially said "I do." However, their custody battle would actually last longer than the marriage the two had, as it got pretty messy. Usher was granted primary custody in August of 2012, as Foster unfortunately lost her oldest son due to a tubing accident. Usher spoke to Oprah about the battle, as he says, "This will be the only time that I've ever chosen to speak about it. I've been a man of integrity throughout the entire process, which I hope my boys will understand. That's the way to go. That's the way to be. Things were rocky from the start as the two once planned a wedding, but it was called off because Usher's own mother refused to attend the ceremony. But that didn't stop them as they swapped vows just 1 week later. Usher has also opened up about realizing the marriage was over as insecurities began to become clear once the couple welcomed their second child. As Usher describes, it isn't easy to be married, especially to a celebrity, and admits he didn't know how to balance it all and decided to end the marriage before it caused further damage. For our number 3, we have Paul McCartney and Heather Mills. This member of the Beatles had to actually give nearly $50 million, $33 million of it in cash, plus $15.6 million in assets due to the court order. Yes, that crazy amount of money is what most people will never get anywhere close to, but it is what McCartney had to pay in order to obtain a shared custody of their then 3-year-old daughter Beatrice. Well, let's go back in time as the two got married in 2002 after McCartney's first wife unfortunately passed away from breast cancer. Mills and McCartney would be married for 4 years before they filed for divorce, as they actually blamed the media for intruding into their private lives, which honestly makes sense as many celebrities try to keep their relationships as private as possible before having the entire world judge you and your partner, because that was definitely challenging. All the media frenzy wasn't specifically there for all the drama, but rather the interest in such a high financial settlement. In our number 2 spot, we have Tom Cruise and Katie Holmes. The former couple first met in 2005 and also got engaged that same year as Cruise proposed to Holmes with a 5-carat yellow diamond ring at a restaurant located on top of the Eiffel Tower. I'm getting flashbacks to That Sweet Life on Deck episode where Cody tried doing that for Bailey. Sorry for getting off track. Anyways, these two welcomed their first child together named Suri in 2006, and a few months after that, they got married. Well, in 2012, the two announced a split and a settlement was reached in just 11 days, which is way shorter than I think everyone else on this list was. Well, the rumors were circulating that the reason why Holmes divorced Cruise was in order to free her daughter from the constraints of Scientology, which is a very controversial belief. Holmes was granted primary custody, and if you're wondering what the dynamic is like now after all these years, according to Us Weekly, Cruise hasn't been seen publicly with Suri since around 2013 when she was 7 years old. And obviously we don't know what happens behind the closed doors, but I guess we'll never fully know. And in our number 1 spot, we have Jon and Kate from Jon and Kate +8. I know we've talked about this couple in part 1, but there's just been new developments as it seems Jon has now received custody of 2 of their children. This former couple rose to fame on the TLC show Jon and Kate +8, but were bombarded by the media ever since. These two had a very public and messy falling out as Jon was ultimately painted as the bad guy with rumors surrounding infidelity. After their very messy and public falling out, Jon received custody of 1 child, Leah, and over the years has now gained custody of Colin as well, who claims his mom Kate wrongfully sent him to a behavioral health system. Colin sent his dad letters through the mail about the incident as Jon had no idea, which led him to take Colin into his care. It seems like this family is still in the media as Kate and Jon are still butting heads at this time, and it appears Kate has brought the children involved as they publicly speak poorly about Jon. That was a lot to unpack. Is there anyone that you think is missing from this list? Let us know below, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.